Hi everyone, hope you can enjoy my presentation. So my topic is AgriHood, a new peri-urban agriculture system for Auckland towards a sustainable farming-centered residential development. So let's break in 4 parts. First, I talk about the research background, then talk about the theory. After that, I talk about some analysis, environment, and the design.
Sorry, did you say special housing areas?
Yeah, special housing area. So first, my research question is, how can we harness peri-urban agriculture with periphery urban growth? How can we create a model for the radical transformation of an industrialized agriculture system into a locally based sustainable model in peri-urban area, Auckland? So peri-urban area in Auckland are located between the built-up area and rural urban boundary, such as Kumeo, Belmont, and Hingla. And peri-urban agriculture is present in peri-urban areas. Its production units close to the town, which operate intensive semi or fully commercial farm to grow vegetable and other commercial crops. Usually, peri-urban agriculture is be regarded as the it's like a security blanket in our food system. So what happened from past to today is due to the population growth, and the demand for housing development. So Auckland has lost 8% of its most productive soil resource for urban surveys and housing. And what happened is urban sprawl happened on the farmland. So the ecological footprint is larger. It's about, for Auckland, it's like 200 million hectare ecological footprint. So it means in order to feed the people in Auckland, we have to get a long way to include food and seafood crop, so which means we have a longer food meal transport for a long way. And what happened from today to future is in the Auckland Council proposed 400,000 houses in rural urban boundary through the intensification, and 90,000 houses in through the greenfield investigation, and Workforce and Pukekoi is satellite town has been identified to accommodate a huge population. But for example, like Pukekoi has the most productive soil in Auckland. Most of the land, over 80%, is the elite or prime soil. And so in Auckland, so the first system for environmental sustainability, so we actually rely on the rural agriculture, which is involve the pesticide industrialized fossil fuel based agriculture. And for retail, we rely on a big supermarket, and the rural big scale farmland doesn't bring any social benefit or accessibility for local people or local community. And for economy part, so the food production rely on the international market. So the local economy cannot control by themselves. So, but in Auckland plan, we have a vision to become a sustainable low carbon city, which means we need a more sustainable food system as well. So we need more local-based, more farm market and educational landscape, productive landscape to improve the social benefit. So now today, so the food system is like we transport the food or food production from the rural area to the city. It's not a closed loop system, which means it's not sustainable. So the aim and objective. So the aim is to transform industrialized agriculture to a sustainable agriculture in peri-urban area. So first, I researched the history, the urban form and the food production, the relationship, because I'm focused on the people and food. And then I researched the theory about the garden movement, Boer Acre City, continued productive urban landscape, and agrarian urbanism to learn from the case study. And at the last, I try to understand the connection and the relationship between the community and the food protection in social, economy, and ecology aspect around the special housing area environment through the GIS software, concept plan, and the site investigation. And the last, I make a design to create a community to fully integrate with economy, ecological, and development. So the site I choose is Belmont, is special housing area environment is in South Auckland, in the west side of Pukekohe, and it will provide 720 houses with 90 hectares. So urban settlement have well connect with the food in a long history. It's very important relationship. So, but after big city happened and with the development of a transport is gone, the relationship is gone, and the urban settlement cannot react to the form of the food anymore. So, but before the Second World War, the Howard and Mr. Wright think about how to bring the garden and green and food back to the city. So Howard think about he designed for a model for big city. He think about we create agriculture built around the city to create a possibility to bring the food back to the city fabric. And Light, I think, centralized city will break up into decentralized community, into rural, kind of transform into like decentralized agrarian suburb. So agriculture as a second landscape could connect the nature world and the community, but it doesn't exist because he proposed everyone like the agriculture life, but most of the people in city actually enjoy the social benefit, the social life in the city. So it's never come true. So in Garden City, there's like two models. It's kind of, both of them is kind of a zoning design. It's bring the garden back to the city as a zoning. So, but it's kind of a different model. So for green belt is kind of one of the productive land around the city. It's more focused on controlled urban sprawl. And what happened is, this is the first green belt in London. What happened in next 40 years is the agricultural land is replaced by the golf courses and the schoolyard and open space. It's gone. And because actually the green belt actually doesn't improve the accessibility and any social benefit to the people living in the city. So, and most of the land most of agriculture is belong to the industrialized agriculture. So, which means it's low biodiversity area. But the Greenwich is different. It's kind of it's also the zoning design, but it gets through all whole the region and react to the demand for local community. And for sustainable agriculture, we cannot design with any social benefit and any social benefits. We have to create a sustainable food system with the community, with the people, make people to protect their farmland voluntarily. Pardon? Wow. Wow. So I propose Greenwich can bring more accessibility and social benefit for the city, and this is a better way to save our farmland, rather than make a zoning and it doesn't have any effect from the city, from the people. And then Andrea actually pushed the boundary from the Greenwich. So continued protective urban landscape, actually I believe is kind of protective Greenwich. It's a kind of similar model. So it's like 20 years ago. And what they do is they intensify the green space and the farmland in urban area and make them connect by the infrastructure, normally like no vehicle road, to create a network in a town or urban area. So people in the city can have a fully accessible to the green network and enjoy the protection in the green network. And another thing is, Dua is is an American guy. He's pushed the boundary about Broad Acre City. So Broad Acre City actually is kind of small farm, small business, small housing area to make an integrated community, not rely on the city anymore. So he create a community called Southland. Is the community integrated with all skill of agriculture production. So in this community, we are not design only the food production. We design the whole part of the food system, not just the production, also include processing and distribution and eating. That's all part of the food process. And they also rely on the rural and rural-urban transit. So which means we cannot put a big farm in the city center, but we can put a big farm in the peri-urban or rural areas, and we can create a balcony garden in the city center. We put the right productive element in a right place. So the last principle is the permaculture principle. So permaculture is a kind of learn nature way to organize the nature results. And the why is so important in urban areas is for an urban or peri-urban farmer, we have to create a variety of vegetable or crop in a small space. So permaculture is a way to teach me how to save the energy in a small space. So this is a site in Belmont in the west side of Pococoy, and it's almost all is the farmland. Oops. So the site, you can see the open space is separated in the town, and there's some second line across the site, but for north and south, there's no path. And limited water infrastructure, on-site no infrastructure, and and the open space is separate around the site. And so this is a calculation from what I think second line, green space, and the water infrastructure. So another analysis is the economical social context. Is actually this site is quite a convenience. So in 2 kilometers, there's 2 supermarkets and 1 farm market. But what happened is the mixed housing suburb and the single house is touched with farmland. So there's no buffer zone. And actually, I think the road or the motorway is the buffer zone from the suburb and the farmland. So this is there's like Pococoy. It's important town in Franklin region. So most people live in Pococoy in Franklin region, and most people is European. And Pococoy economy jobs is rely on the agriculture, horticulture production. And what happened is more people will come in Pococoy, and the Belmont has proposed as a special housing area, so 90 hectare area will be fully designed as a residential area. So the good thing is in Belmont is they have a long history of farming, a good soil, and near the infrastructure have a farm market near. And the bad thing is in Belmont we still controlled by international supermarket, and the people lose their job because they sell the land in Belmont, make more money than keep the land. And I make an analysis in Auckland, and I say why the urban development always happen in farmland. So I make a map of land use, make a map as soil capability. So we know why it's happened in farmland, because farmland in Auckland is almost low biodiversity place. There's no social, ecological benefit. So if we want to save the land, we have to improve the biodiversity. So I make an analysis inside. So on site is a limited resource. Most land receive good sunlight and potential for sensitive water strategy because there is a variety of the landform. And there's good soil, and most land cover is farmland. So there's absolutely the low biodiversity place is the pure monoculture practice. And this is site what it looks like. And I do some experimental analysis. So I walk through the site to tell what I'm feeling because I'm research the relationship between people and farmland. So I have to feeling what I'm feeling walk through the site. So this is a kind of a road. And this is a kind of access to open space. There's just two. One is a stream reserve. One is Rose Birch Park. And the scale is weird because it suddenly turned to high density community to farmland. And you can see the age. Normally the age is compact community, pass, and farmland, or compact community to farmland. So make a conclusion. So actually, I've been there is kind of an awful experience for me because actually for local people, there's no reason to come there. There's no open space. There's no walkable road. So it's all designed for the wildlife movement. So key finding I separated in 5 parts. So the problem is from access to nature, water management, access to organic waste management, access to leisure recreation, access to community and people, and access to market. And talk about design. So my design is actually to bring the agriculture and building neighborhood together. So we call it the agrihood. And through the two strategy, connection and integration. So connection is based on agri-consent, and integration based on the agri-community. So talk about connection. So before we make a connection from nature to the urban settlement, in Belmont we have to create a whole region network. So I follow the Canadian protective urban landscape. I identify the open space, the farmland, and the local infrastructure, and make a connection to make them more biodiversity, more multifunction, so people can enjoy the whole green network. So this is the green network. So we put a relative protective element on the street and on the local park. So every community, any community center can get into the green network in 5 minutes. And it's cool many functions, like you can cycling, you can walking a dog, you can buy some food in the shop in park. So after that, so I think about how, so Belmont is a part of the green network, so how it reacts to this network. So I follow the permaculture called kinline design. So kinline design is kind of natural way to how can store the water. So it's, for example, the river uphill, downhill is actually the natural way to slow the process of the water flow. So we can make an intervention in design. So this is kind of the water flow. So we can make the farmland, a park, as the shape of the water flow to capture more water and slow down the process to solve the problem. You know, we don't have a limit. We have a limited water resource on site, and I use vector to analyze the water flow. Oh my god! And this is kind of green agri project in Belmont. So it's well connected from the nature to the community, and it's a part of the whole region green network in Pocoy. And we know before, like, there's no access from the north to south, but now we have a walking and a cycling road in blue color, get through the site, and also have a vehicle road for vehicle and the people movement. And this is what it really looks like the water and the green water management. So King Line design actually kind of a farming way to organize the water. But I changed a little bit. So through the King Line, so we actually make a check dam to slow down the water flow from the top to down. And another way we create a green water system connect to the community. So in the summer, we don't have enough rainwater, so the green water through the bell as well recharge the farmland. So this is access to organic waste management. So we create a compost hub in the center of the agriculture process. So the process is like we identify the potential site for community to compost in private sector and move them to the hub, and everyone can get the compost if they want to grow food. They can get it from the composting hub, and the composting hub is not just a compost place. It also has a social benefit. So people come to here to learn how to make a compost and to have there's golf courses in here, so people can enjoy to have a look what happened in compost.
2 minutes.
Oh my God. So it's access to leisure and recreation. So we make a green productive street, so which means we put a wristband on the street and people can see what food grow up, how this looks like. And we also create a leisure parkland in agri-precinct. So you see the axis, there's a lot of axes, and this is what it looks like. And this is like in the middle, we have a Fungapuri stream park. So this kind of, we plant some orchards and some native trees together, mix them, and the children can play in the playground, and the parents can take a rest. So another strategy is integration. So integration, so this is kind of agri and living block. So it's followed by rural-urban transect. So which means it's dynamic block, but it's never, what never happened is a farmland touch with a single house or mixed use housing area. They always have a buffer zone with countryside living or home farm state farmland. So it's from high density to low density, and each block have a relative productive land. So this is a kind of, so we follow the agri-run block to design the community from the center to the edge, and this is a productive element in the community to support, to make people adapt to kind of agrarian life, and then go back to support the agri-process. So this is a kind of farmland, the farm market at the market square. So farm market square is not just a place to buy stuff. It's also a place to hang out, playground, and green shelter. So you don't have to buy food. You could see what happens. You can play around and see what the food looks like, how the price, what people talk, how to cooking. So at last, so we talk about access to people and the community. So you can see the different productive elements adapt to in the community, from the rural big farmland to the private garden. And we can also organize the people. So we organize like the professional farmer in the big farm and volunteer maybe in the community garden. So anyone with any level of skill can get involved in the community and agriculture.
Okay, wrapping it up.
So this is conclusion. So big conclusion. So this is the master plan. So this is what the size of open space, agricultural land. So half of the space is open space and agricultural land. It's enough to feed the people in the community. And the conclusion is we talk about the urban sprawl happened. Well, what happened? So and the the existing agriculture system is not fit for the local urban Auckland, and we talk about continual protective urban landscape and agrarian urbanism, and then we decide to create a farmer-centered residential development. So how to, so this is the first question. So second question is how to create a locally based sustainable model in peri-urban Auckland. So what we get is move the neighborhood and agriculture together to become an agri-hood. Yeah. So this is reflection. So I'm thinking about, through the design, I'm thinking about design a beautiful park is not important. The most important thing is the design should react to the people. We design for the people. We doesn't design for the shape or the form.
Beautiful.
So last word, I think today the city shapes our food and lives. Tomorrow the food will shape our city and lives. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Chen. That's great.
Okay, so who wants to kick off the questions this time? We'll have to take turns, I'm afraid.
Okay, I will. I mean, I found it really interesting anyway. It's the topic that I'm interested in. And I found it a really compelling presentation. I think you did very well. I particularly liked, if I can find my notes, I liked, that you kind of explained why and where and how.
Yeah.
I think you did that well. Yet, in terms of a question, I was not so sure about the key line concept.
Okay, so
How
concept is
how
kind
that
of
fitted?
key point is the most steep area. So it's most steep area in the contours.
So
it's most potential to capture the water.
So it only affects the steep areas, or I got the impression you were trying to.
So the water flows through the deep, so the slope area. So we design the farmland through. Yeah.
I understood that,
Yeah.
but I had a query in that case because you've got all these elite and class 1 soils, and now you're proposing to change them. And I thought, actually, and how does that affect, the existing soils, existing character, and the biodiversity? So that was just a bit of a query whether it should be universally applied or not. That's
And
what
actually, we
I
make a check dam, so it's kind of in case the soil erosion. So it's kind of a dam. So the water.
I realise that,
yeah.
but you're changing the landform by applying that. I'm just,
Yeah.
questioning whether you should include that as a kind of
Yeah.
thing across the whole thing. But I did like the fact that you had the different scales
Yeah.
of application.
Yeah.
I thought perhaps you could have explained that
Yeah. You
a
detail
little more
detail.
about, the kind of from the large to the small,
Yeah.
and particularly in relation to your master plan.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
or. Flow.
I mean, I thought it was all there.
Yeah.
I thought, as I say, they're just minor points really. And the only other thing, which I don't think you can address, but I would be interested in, was your examples of the in London, the green belt and the green wedge,
Yeah.
and the other one. I noticed, from England, so I know that the green belt actually started out the
Yeah.
way you intended this to. So I'm just interested in over time whether in fact it doesn't degrade to the point they are now where they're saying it's not actually worth keeping. And the most recent example clearly works best, but what will happen over time, and how do you safeguard it over time? So I mean that was a kind of interesting question for me. My comments. Anyone else?
I'll be brief. I just want to again kind of reinforce some similar comments. I found it a very compelling and attractive vision and thoughtful, and I enjoyed hearing about this idea of an agri-hood because that's a really new concept for me, and it seems and it's quite innovative and worthwhile idea to pursue, particularly in the context of the kind of urban landscape and out into the rural spaces of Auckland, because I think sometimes those different ways of expanding and still maintaining some of the traditional uses or balancing different goals was really interesting and an interesting application of. I think you were talking about green network theory.
Yeah.
So that's all I really want to say.
Might just say you need to check your spelling. I saw at least 5 spelling mistakes.
Please.
Sure. In terms of overall presentation, I thought the pace for broadly the first half was good. You had the different models, I was following it. Then you got into, and you're talking a lot about economics and the system of food production and transport and cities and stuff, and I was following that. And then in the second half, you got more into the subject matter areas where I think you're more comfortable, and you really picked up the conceptual pace. And it's not my area, so I felt like all of a sudden I was just like a skimming stone. And then I saw a lot of slides with some really nice streets and integrating growing food and stuff into the urban area, and it was some really nice demonstrations of combining things that are normally disparate and saying, look, you can integrate these in a way that people might really quite like, and that was good. Then I was thinking, what's the objective again? What's the big picture? It wasn't until we got to the end when I realised, maybe I missed it, but you were actually designing the special housing area in a way that met
there's
some
a lot
objectives.
of potential set for open.
Like you mentioned earlier, something about a special housing area, and then I go, okay, and then it wasn't until the end when I realised actually you were saying, if we could have a blank slate and design this area in a way that met a series of objectives, here's how we would do it. And I didn't quite see the logic in that way. You created a bunch of objectives you wanted for the area being sustainable and not having to travel too far for your produce and the like. I probably would have been better if you had framed up those objectives, and some of them make sense. Some of them I would debate the economic logic of, because it doesn't cost that much to grow the food here, transport it over here for manufacturing and bring it back again. Sometimes that can be a lower cost than actually doing it in the location. But that's beside the point. If you just said, right, well, here's the objective, we're going to want to attract people to live here that have a philosophy, a worldview of wanting to have low food miles. So that's fine. That's take it or leave it. It is what it is. But just this is an objective for what it's worth, and then here's the implications of these objectives, and here's how it leads us to shape the SHA in the following way. That would have been fine, and I just didn't quite see the deduction of the objectives, why you wanted them. Were they logically right, or were they just you're going to attract that kind of people that want to live that kind of way? And then I wasn't. Yeah, and I guess it also wasn't clear to me. I was asking myself, what are the actions? Who do you want to do and what and why? And then it wasn't clear to me until the end. Oh no, this is about if you had a blank slate and you were able to design it the way that you want, here's how you would do it. Oh, that's what this is about. And it might just be me because I'm not. It wasn't clear to me what was going to happen anyway and how did you want to change it. Versus
so what it's going to be anyway is like the residential area will happen on this side, and this have farmland. So this is a way to save the farmland, actually.
Yeah, so the special housing area is already going to be
proposed to be a residential area.
And I don't know how far through construction they are and how much what they're doing aligns with what you're doing.
Blank. It's a blank. It's just agricultural.
Yeah.
It's vacant.
So have they started building homes yet?
No.
But they've got
I go to
minor
the side,
SHA.
is still farmland. They just maybe
He's proposing a model
a model for
development.
different space.
for development.
There's no plan for it. It's just
So it's right, okay.
a zone.
Yeah. And you're going to present this to the owners of the land to say, hey, why don't you develop it this way?
Yeah.
You are?
Well,
Like design the special housing area in the farmland in a new way to design kind of model. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Some
So you
special housing area and two
you're
feet.
going to make a pitch to the landowners in the SHA.
So kind of two feature farmland and special housing area. So if they have two features, so we can create kind of a new model to
I
see.
think it's
Yeah.
just
This kind of thing.
But it's okay.
Are you serious? You're going to talk to the landowners?
No, but actually, so
I don't think so.
no, like I go to the site, but you know, it's like a big farm. Actually, it's not attractive, and I talk with the local people, and not really friendly there. You know, not friendly actually. They're not like in the community garden. We talk, oh, food, blah blah. They not.
Yeah.
Why you come here? Because here's a weird area for community to come. No community come to there. This my land. This countryside living. So no people, just a neighbor. I just know neighbor. You will have weird people to come. Why you come? I don't want to talk to you. Like this.
I mean, it's a good observation of that, you know, step between farmland and community and green community, or the agri-hood that you are proposing. And yeah, I love the word agri-hood. It's the thing that keeps the whole presentation kind of linked. One thing that I have to mention is that you keep looking at the camera,
Oh,
Yeah.
I
But-
didn't notice.
but we are here.
Ah, yeah.
So you need to establish, if you are presenting to a panel, that's in general, it's not good, no bad.
Yeah.
We always look at you, and it's like, who is talking? You know, you're always looking there. So you need to
Yes.
kind of interact with
Yeah.
the panel
Sure.
as a, you know, note, not important, but. Yeah, I mean, I think the presentation has improved,
Yeah.
like,
More focused on
hugely
design.
from the last time.
Yeah.
that-
Sure.
And I really like how you have kind of almost domesticized
Yeah.
all the design work. Like I remember the previous things, and they were these horrible diagrams of massive
Yeah.
blocks of buildings, and now
Yeah.
you have nice little terrace housing and cottages. So everything is really friendly.
Yeah.
I still kind of think that you should test how many of those perfect walls can coexist. Because you are proposing this model, which is, you know, the combination of land and community
Yeah.
to a sustainable level.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that somewhere on the line, totally guessing, somewhere on the line, a little village was like that 100 years ago. Nobody invented, you know, it would have been so many thousands of villages like that in Spain, for example. Now the paper says that there is 1,500 abandoned villages in Spain. So how many of your models do you think that you can build
Around peri-urban Auckland.
correct before you lose the
Yeah.
model?
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of, because it's so perfect that it's almost unbelievable. You know?
Yeah.
You start from zero, and you this. Oh, paradise. How many paradise can we have before the whole thing crumbles?
Well, I did wonder, you know, as well, you know, where the choice comes into it as well. I mean, not everyone does want to live in an agri-hood. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's the way you kind of sell it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you could have hundreds and hundreds of them. I don't think everybody wants to live like that. So.
But just from the kind of technical point of view, because
Well-
you have it completely technically resolved from 0 to 10. I mean, can you establish technically how many can you have before the whole thing doesn't work?
So yes. So there's a few sites around the peri-urban area. So like the red color. So this is a special housing area. So there's a few like here the site, but here the site with farmland.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a, but I'm not like researching detail like the landform, something like this, because it's very important to organize the stormwater and green water system. If the site is too steep, it's not good for building a house. If it's too flat, it's not good for organize the stormwater because we have to kind of a variety of the landform to organize easy for us.
Then again, you have the Romans with aqueducts, and you have developers with 80 tons bulldozers. So your two arguments, they are not really good long-term arguments. You can take water to wherever you want, and you can flatten land, especially these days, if there is enough money to be made. So just the if you want the shape factor or the geographic reason, I don't think that is enough to maintain the argument. We are too advanced for that. Well, even the Romans were too advanced, and then it collapsed. Yeah, but no, great presentation. Chen, you should modify your 3D view
Oh, 3D
to make it
Okay.
likable.
Yeah.
Friendly.
Otherwise, you keep looking at the 3D view, and it's like.
Very hard to see.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And,
Thank you.
now we'll just swap over to Kevin.